Hey Youtubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything, the channel likes to try anything so you don't have to. What I thought I'd talk about today, aside from the slew of watches and stuff like that I've been reviewing, I thought I'd go on about my Nissan Micra. Now, I have posted a couple of videos about the Nissan Micra, which is, it's been like what my initial thoughts were on the one video, which I'll link below. The second one was what it was like after 18 months of owning this car, and the third one is today, which is, it's more my kind of overall final, like a final video on it really, because I've had this for like 2 3/4 years, and I just wanted to say what it was like to own over those 2 3/4 years, and whether it's a car that's, you know, something that's worthy of, you know, consideration if you are looking at a kind of a small, cheap, fat, you know, little hatchback to own for an amount of time really. Now, I've considered what I was going to say based on someone looking for a Nissan Micra, or someone looking for, possibly looking at a car like this to own. And the way I looked at it is, which is how I'm going to summarize it later, where I'm going to say, you know, would it be, as opposed to a car that would I buy again, would it be a car that I would buy knowing what I know now? So that's what I'm going to base this kind of end of my ownership review on really. So as I said, I've had this car for 2 3/4 years, or nearly 3 years. It'll be 3 years early next year, and I have done about 18,000 miles or something like that in it. And it's not a lot, because obviously we've had a year of lockdown and various, you know, can't go places and stuff, which has kind of hampered the mileage. But in that kind of ownership, the first thing I will say is the reliability, or the first thing I'll talk about is reliability. Now, in terms of reliability, this car's been all right. It's not been bad. It's always started, even on the coldest. It's always started on the coldest of days. And in terms of kind of, if I've ever been let down or anything like that, I've never broken down on the roadside or anything like that. And you know, it's been good for that. I have had in the last year, or over the last 6 to 9 months, things go on this car. The first thing I had go, which was for a MOT previous to the one I've just had, was a wishbone, and that was the front left suspension, and that cost around £120 to fit. Also, I had an MOT and I had it serviced at the same time, so that went. I've had suspension elements on that side of the car, front passenger side, go as well, which was around the £200 to £300, and that was like drop links and stuff like that, which there was something wrong with it, because every time I was driving it with my kids in and stuff, it would make like a ching 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 noise every time I'd go over a bump and stuff. So it was a problem with the suspension at the front. The other thing I've had to change is 2 new front tyres, which you know, they were starting to perish, they were cracking, and you know, you get that with all cars really. You know, eventually the tyres will wear, and if you do, I haven't changed them for the 2 3/4 years I've had it, or nearly 3 years I've had it, so not bad really. And once you do change them, you do notice a massive difference in how the car steers when kind of the car steers when at like low speeds and stuff like that. You do notice a difference, so it was well worth doing. And they weren't a lot, but they are, the wheels on this Micra are non-standard, and that's what the chap at a place I go to in Washington says, which is called Tire Spot. And they say that the non-standard tyres, so they're not the easiest to get. Though they did have them in stock, they weren't the cheapest, so I paid about £60 a corner. So just to give you an idea there. The other thing he's had done is the bearing at the back, which cost about, I'm trying to think, about £85. So in essence, over the nearly 3 years I've had it, I've probably spent about £500–600 in terms of things that have gone wrong on it. The other thing that went on it as well was the centre, the exhaust that runs down the centre part of the car. The actual, how can I say, the heat shield, that's what I was thinking about, that fell off. Well, it didn't so much fall off as the actual fixings had rusted away that much that there was nothing keeping it on. And unfortunately, a lot of garages, I took it to 2 garages with this, and they say it's not worth keeping it on, there's no point, so it got taken off. So, you know, these things you just got to bear in mind. But other than that, it's been all right. I mean, I'm on the 1231 heading towards Sunderland, and it's smooth. It's I wouldn't say it's refined. It's not quiet as well, but it's not massively loud. But if you do anything more than like a 200, you know, if you do like a 220 mile drive, you will notice, and I've said this in the previous videos, you will notice what you are doing that speed, and sorry, you will notice that you are kind of covering that distance, which again isn't a problem, because I mean it is capable of these sort of distances. And in terms of economy, because this is the 1.5 DCI engine, and it's only done 55,700 miles, which is nothing for a 2010 car. Fuel economy, once I got about 60 miles to the gallon, but I used premium fuel for that to happen. Using Sainsbury's or kind of how can I say, like supermarket fuel, I'm averaging 51.6 miles to the gallon, so not bad for a, you know, tooting around and stuff. I tend to average that around the doors, as I say, you know, kind of local driving. But in terms of like motorway, it's never really creeped up any more than kind of on cheap diesel, 55 miles to the gallon. So I have looked on the forums, and I do know that it is capable of more than that. So I don't know if it's this car, maybe the clutch is just very slightly on the way out, I don't know. I mean, the biting point is higher than the midpoint, what you would get in a normal car, so that might be the case, but I'm not experiencing any slip or anything like that, so I don't know. But it's always been like that. It's been like that since I bought it. So reliability I've covered, which it's been fine, other than the things that go on it, but they go on all cars. Miles per gallon, yeah, as I said, you know, a trip to Birmingham and back, you're probably looking at £50 in terms of kind of diesel and stuff like that, and that's at about these prices, which is about £1.40 per gallon. So yeah, it's not too bad. I was expecting a bit more when I first bought it, but you know, because my Golf tended to do way better than that, but that was a 6-geared 1.9 TDI. In terms of kind of practicality, really, and that's the only other thing I'm going to touch on. Practicality, the boot has a very wide opening to it, which is fantastic, and I've even managed to get a pallet in there, and you know, it's been good. And we couldn't get that same pallet into a Kia Rio, which is a 5-door, so you know, it's been good for that. And you know, any kind of tip runs, it's never faltered really. It's never had a problem getting like big bags of rubbish or any kind of recyclable stuff into the car. Now, as you can hear, it is developed a little bit of kind of brake squeal, really. So you know, that might be that the pads are on the way out, I don't know, but it doesn't always happen. So you know, that's another little thing that's starting to happen. Now, as I say, it's towards the end of my ownership on this, and this is again why I'm mentioning practicality. I'm going to be looking for a 5-door, because with a 3-door, the 3-door with if you've got 2 kids, is not the most practical. I mean, I bought it when they were young, or when they were younger, and now they're getting taller. They're in secondary school or comp or high school, as most people call it. It's starting to show its impracticality with 3 doors. You know, it's getting to the point where the kids are kind of stumbling over the what would I say? Stumbling over the kind of seatbelt is what I was trying to think of. They're stumbling over that and stuff like that, really, which, you know, it's not ideal, and hence why I'm kind of looking at getting a slightly bigger car. And if you are looking at one of these cars being like a single person or a new car driver, then you know, the £30 a year tax, they're very cheap to insure. And as I say, like, it is a diesel, it will do about 50, maybe 60 on a long run. You know, it is a cheap car to run, and you know, in terms of driving, and it's got some character to it when you're driving. And you know, like when you kind of want to put your foot down and just overtake people, that diesel engine, I mean, it's like I think it's 86 or 87 brake horsepower. You do notice it will go quite quick. And as I say, on motorways, you're keeping up with traffic, no problem. And as I say, for a little car like that, you can't beat it really. The other thing as well is the technology that's within this car. Now, this car is the n-tec, and with the n-tec, you get air conditioning as well, I believe you get air conditioning as standard. You also get satellite navigation, which I've got here. Also, I'm trying to think, air conditioning. You also get wheel steering mounted controls as well. So I've got volume, I can change kind of tracks. I've also got like a speed, not limiter, but it tells you. So if I set it at like 60 miles an hour, set it at that. If I go over 60 miles an hour, it will start beeping. So you've got all these little measures which add up to something where, you know, a car that is around, it can be bought around $2.5 grand or something like that. And you know, you do get a fair bit of tech with it really. In terms of comfort, it's not bad. I mean, I'm going over some kind of speed bumps here, and it does kind of soak them up, no problem really. You know, obviously if you keep doing it like I used to keep doing it when I was taking the kids down to their primary school, which had loads of speed bumps, you will start to develop some issues with your suspension. So but that would probably go the same with all cars of that manner. Now, other than that really, I mean, kind of in terms of ownership, cost of ownership, it's not been too bad. As I say, it has had about 3, 4, maybe £500 worth of things go wrong in it. Servicing is cheap, you know, and kind of there's certain parts that, you know, like for example, I've changed the air filter myself, which was dead easy to do. And I'm sure if you are handy, you know, like with a wrench or stuff like that, then it's probably a good little car to, you know, keep going yourself really, because there is plenty of videos about them. But as I say, with the driving character of it, you know, it is fun and it's got a little bit of punch to it if you get the diesel version. You know, it is quite, you know, it's quite agile really. And parking in one of these is a doddle. It really is, because it's not the widest of cars and you can fit it in these little spaces and stuff like that. And it does make me laugh when I see Micras with well, they've got parking sensors on there, and I just don't understand why you need them, because the visibility out of this car is, you know, it is second to none. The only thing that people do find it though is that it can be a bit of a goldfish bowl when you first have it really. So other than that, I mean, it has been a great car. And as I say, I'm going to come to the question, you know, it has been a great car, but the only downside I've had, and I've said this in a few other things, but over the 2.75 years, nearly 3 years I've had it, the only downside is that I picked a 3-door instead of a 5-door. Now, with a 5-door, if I would have had a 5-door variant of this car, with the tech that it's got, with the engine, with the mileage that I've got it at, and the way I've looked after it and paid for stuff to be repaired and anything like that, it's been well kept. I'll be honest with you, I'm finding it quite hard to get another car. And obviously with the pandemic going on at the minute, you know, cheaper 5-door variants and cheaper 5-door cars have been quite hard to come by. But the reason why I say it's been quite hard to get, this car has kind of done everything I've ever needed it to do in the years I've owned it. I've never really considered, like, I've got to get a different car because of X, Y, Z. You know, I've always got it repaired and it's always been fine. And as I say, I've always found it, it's one of these cars that, yeah, it's probably not the, you know, the ideal car that if you are into cars and stuff like that, that you want to own, but it is a practical, well, the 5-door version would be, but it is a car that I'm finding quite hard to think of a replacement really. And that's because it is small, it is peppy, it's quite enjoyable to drive really. And if anything, in terms of looks, you do look at it in, you know, at first it's a bit of a Marmite car because some people find it quite, you know, like, oh, it's a bit girly, but I don't find it as that. I find it's quite dynamic, it's quite sharp. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, in years to come, it'll be quite a car that people said, you know, especially if you've had it when you were young, you know, quite a nice car to have. And that's why I'm finding it hard to find something that, you know, I'm looking for something slightly bigger and slightly better. But I'm constantly just put off by the fact that I'm thinking, well, you know, if I had a 5-door version of this, I would keep it. There'd be no reason to change it really, other than, you know, as I said, because I've picked a 3-door instead of a 5. And I will say, if you have got kids and if you have got any reason to constantly be in and out of them back seats, don't pick a 3-door. You will eventually regret it, and you will be in a position I'm in where I'm thinking, well, I could have done with a 5-door. So overall, I'm coming to the question, instead of me saying, would I buy this again? Because no one really buys a car again. They always buy something newer in the same model or in the same manufacturing range, or something a bit different because I want to change. But I'm going to say to myself, or I'm going to answer the question, if I knew then what I know now about this car, would I buy it? Would I buy it? And I paid £3 grand 3 years ago. And I'll be honest with you, for that money, it is a car that's well worth that amount of money. And knowing now what I know then, if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't buy this particular model as such. And when I say model, I mean like this particular body style, being it a 3-door. If it was a 5-door, I would buy it. I would seriously consider it, because it has been a really good car to have. My wife loves driving it. You know, she always loves nipping around in it when she gets the chance, or when I give her the chance, because it always turns into a mobile skip when she has it. But she finds it very nippy and very, you know, fun to drive and stuff like that. And it is, and I gotta say, you know, this car has a lot of character, and I would consider it again. I really would, but it has to be a 5-door, and that's the only way I'd finish on it really. I mean, I haven't had any real problems with it. You know, as I say, you know, other than it's amount of doors. In terms of boot and stuff like that, it'll get a few bags of shopping in. I've got about 3 or 4 full bags of shopping. I've got a pallet in, as I said, and you know, it's adequate really. It's adequate. I mean, ideal second car, ideal first person, you know, like new car driver, or new driver, and you know, at the end of the day, I mean, it is a car that will get you from A to B, but you will have a bit of fun doing it, and it is quite smooth on the motorway, albeit a little, not, you know, like, you know, you will go on a bit and you will feel it. So I'm babbling now, so just to end the video, you know, thank you for watching the video. I hope it's helped. I mean, it is a good car. It's worth considering. 5-door over 3 if you can, and try and get a car that's been looked after really, because, you know, as long as you look after a car, it'll always look after you. And as I say, thank you for watching this video. There will be more videos coming soon. Like, I will, you know, feature the new car that I've got, you know, big fanfare and stuff like that. And I will kind of give you my impressions of the new car, and what it's like to own, what it's like to run after a certain amount of time. So that will be coming when I do get this changed. There is other videos coming soon that I've got planned, and you know, please subscribe to the channel really. It always helps the channel grow, and you know, it is free really. It's just a click or a tap of the button. And as I say, thank you for watching. Give it a like, and look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.